Howdy, folks. I am Michael Vega, your host here at the Chug Life podcast, and we have another episode discussing the most recent events ongoing in Minnesota. And specifically, we're going to be discussing the death of Alex Pretti and more the execution of Alex Pretti, if anything else. And it's some pretty gruesome stuff. We're going to be watching videos of a man be executed, essentially, in broad daylight. And it's not pretty, but we have to discuss this. This is important. And they are trying to sweep all of these victims under the rug as if they're terrorists or as if they're some kind of different breed of people that don't deserve due process or rights or living. So, with that being said, we are going to open up today with nobody, there is no better way to start this off rather than hearing from Tim Waltz or Tim Waltz himself.
Good afternoon. Today I'm joined by Attorney General Ellison, Public Safety Commissioner Bob Jacobson, Minnesota Department of Corrections Commissioner Paul Snell. Thanks everybody for joining us again. We're now about 24 hours from the killing of Alex. And during that time of everything that's happened, I hope everyone's taking away a picture of a life of generosity, service-oriented, and his life's coming into clear focus. I had the privilege of talking with Michael and Susan, Alex's parents, yesterday, and the heartache in the hours after your son's murdered in front of the world is one thing, but what stood out to me was a parent's desire and their passion to make sure that the story of Alex was told. Someone who went to work to care for veterans, someone who was a valued coworker, someone who relished and lived in this state in a big way, whether it was outdoor activities or being down there on the street as a First Amendment witness to what ICE is doing to this state. So once again, to Michael and Susan, when I talk to these parents, it's always in deep confidential conversation. In this one, though, Michael was very clear to me. He said, don't let them forget Alex's story. The world knows how he died. He died at the hands of ICE agents on the streets of Minneapolis. They want us to make sure we said how he lived. So to Michael and Susan, our deepest sympathies, but you have my commitment to continue to tell that story. So now we've got two Minnesotans dead. We didn't had time to start telling Renee's story of a poet and a mother and a bright spirit, and now we're telling Alex's story. So my question is, what's the plan, Donald Trump? What is the plan?
And Tim Waltz so poignantly puts it across to Donald. What are we doing here? You know, there's two people dead in the span of a few weeks, shot, executed in front of their neighbors for observing, for literally exercising their rights as an American. And it is absolutely heartbreaking to have to do it all over again and know that there is really no safety for anybody when these goons are around. And we're going to see a little bit from the guy in charge of this whole shit show. And let me tell you guys, it is not what you expect from a guy who has some killers loose just executing people, and there is no accountability. That being said, here's Greg Bovino.
Bovino, Commander at Large for CBP Assets, here in Minneapolis. I'd like to take a few moments here before we take questions and before we hear from my colleague, Mr. Marcos Charles, to talk about a subject that I think is very important given the events over the past couple of days. And that topic is the topic of choices. Choices. Now, choosing or making a choice is one of the only true freedoms that any of us really have, is to make a choice. Whether that's the choice to be here today as the media, the choice to go to school, join the military, join law enforcement. Making a choice is a freedom that resides within us. Now, good choices are important in life, as we all know. And many actions that take place are due to our choices.
I had a broken windshield and I had to file a claim for that. The good news.
Goddamn ads got us, yo. Holy shit. Sorry about whoever got jump scared to fuck there. No, I don't have YouTube Premium. Fuck you. All right, back at it.
To say cross the border illegally, that is a choice that someone makes. To cross the border illegally, that's a choice. The choice not to utilize the CBP Home app, that's a choice. Not standing in line and doing it the right way, that is a choice. And there are always actions that result from our choices. When you choose to use your 5-year-old child as a shield to evade law enforcement, that is a choice that someone makes. And there are actions and consequences that result from that choice. Or when you're a politician or a community leader, you make a lot of choices there, some very important, wide-ranging, and in-depth choices. When, as a politician, if you choose collusion and corruption as a choice, then there are consequences and actions that take place because of that. That's one reason the U.S. Border Patrol and ICE are here in Minneapolis by the thousands, is because of those choices. When politicians, community leaders, and some journalists engage in that heated rhetoric we keep talking about, when they make the choice to vilify law enforcement, calling law enforcement names like Gestapo, or using the term kidnapping, that is a choice that is made. There are actions and consequences that come from those choices. And then...
All right, so if we're all on the same page here, Vivino is saying that if you are protesting, if you are observing, if you have any belief other than what the party line is or what the government line is, then you are, quite, available to be arrested for any fucking reason they deem now, just because you're obstructing at this point. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what rights you think you had. That's all fucking gone as soon as these guys are on scene. And so, just consider that these guys have more rights than your local police, more rights than your state police, to be able to just go around the law and skirt around the Constitution. Just imagine that, right? You have this thing that literally commands the entirety of the federal government, the entire stature, the entire organization, the infrastructure, the being that is being skirted around and just trampled upon for this little man, this 5'6" dog shit of a human being that you're listening to. And that the guy that comes after him is so much worse. And it's truly just incredible because, Bovino waxes like this. He waxes quite poetically for almost 5 to 7 minutes, just talking all of this shit about all the people, all the criminals they're trying to get, and just skirting around the fact they shot a man in broad daylight for having his phone and recording an altercation of a woman being dragged into a vehicle. She's screaming bloody murder. You think you're just gonna walk by and be like, okay, I'm not gonna pay attention to that? No fucking way. You're a fucking bitch. Straight up. Not even gonna, we're not holding back on this one, ladies and gentlemen. If you think that you would just ignore what that, whole situation would entail, regardless of the consequences, you're just gonna ignore this, you're a bitch. Okay, and I think that probably applies to most of MAGA right now, just staring at this and going, well, you should have complied. It doesn't matter if you comply, okay? He had his fucking hands on his chest. They literally had this man pinned down with fucking 8 dudes, spreading him like a fucking bald eagle. All right, you think he's going to be reaching for anything? You think he's doing anything? The guy is a fucking VA nurse, okay? And turns out he everyday carries, which is why everybody's just going to fucking freak the fuck out as soon as they see a gun. Oh, what? Your American right is just being, it's trampled on. Oh, man. Oh, let's not discuss that can of worms now. No. Let's hear what this other sack of shit has to say.
Good afternoon. I know Commander Bovino spoke about yesterday's incident in the situation, but I also want to draw your attention to the continued uptick in violence we're seeing against federal law enforcement officials, not just here, but across the country. Yesterday, here in Minneapolis, a crowd of violent agitators tackled an ICE special agent when one of our special response teams went to assist. A protester literally bit off part of that agent's finger. The officer received immediate medical attention on the scene and was transported to the emergency room for treatment.
Okay, so just let's keep a track here, guys. I know this is it's so difficult to keep track of the morality here. The morality goalpost is just out the fucking door. It's going down the street at this point. But let's try it. Okay, so your agent gets his finger bitten off by some lady, I'm assuming, who was in fear for her fucking life and being touched up and rubbed up by your gang of fucking criminals. And you have, on the other hand, a dude who you executed in broad fucking daylight for recording your activities. And you have zero fucks to give about the nurse you just executed in broad daylight. But you're gonna fucking weep and take out your fucking the world's smallest fucking violin for this man and this guy who got his finger bitten off. You guys can go fuck yourselves.
We do want to thank the people at the hospital for the assistance and the staff who treated our officer. The officer is recovering, but is now permanently maimed and has lost part of his finger. I don't think I have to tell you that this kind of violence is unacceptable. But I also don't think I need to tell you that this kind of violence is not a coincidence. When sanctuary politicians, activists, and the media work hard to create chaos and fear instead of using their platforms to reassure their communities, this is the result. The reality is, and this is what Commander Bovino and I have been talking about all week, we're out here to arrest dangerous criminal illegal aliens so they can't victimize innocent people in our communities anymore.
Okay, so that's really all we need to hear from this fucking guy. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. It's just the most boring, just fucking moronic shit. Okay, we're not even gonna spend time on that anymore. Just gonna pivot real quick, right? Let's break down this guy's thinking, okay? As he's reading his little script, his little paper, very, very closely. He's keeping very, very close ties with what is written on that paper. And he's saying, let's just understand this really quickly. He wants us to think that everybody in a position of power should be using their voice for good. Okay? And let's keep in mind who his boss is. Let's just, right? That's like the backdrop with this whole thing. Just it really cannot be misstated. It's the most important part to this whole shit. Your boss is quite literally just tweeting his ass off, disparaging anybody and everybody. It doesn't fucking matter. He's shitting on every single person he can think of. And you want us to, like, now all of a sudden think about the bad guys or consider your feeling? I don't. It doesn't track. I mean, honestly, it's just so fucking moronic, guys. Let's not even spend one more second on this. We're going to move on. And now that you guys understand what the government wants you to think, and now that you have heard yourselves what their idea of what is happening is, I want us to actually see what happened. But first, I do want to discuss TMZ put out a very interesting headline that, just it caught my eye. All right. New video shows Trump officials told false story about the killing of Alex Pretti. Wow. No shit. That is, TMZ says it happened. It's now, I'm not even going to lie. This is the weirdest point of the timeline. I genuinely couldn't have imagined that there is more credibility and factual accuracy within TMZ than there is with 99% of media right now. And there is some good ones still, though. Don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not one of those guys that thinks, all of MSM is bad. No, it's bad for generalizing just about anything, guys. Let's be honest here. Now, this is not just interesting, but it's the fact that it kind of tells you where the pulse of the people really is. And, you kind of have to start thinking more about, if TMZ is on the ball with this, how big of a deal is this? And so we see here, this is the protest that is ongoing in Minnesota, and it's ongoing at the site of Alex Pretti's death. And there is a grandma, assuming she's got her little walking chair there. She's walking up to what looks like a bunch of fog, but I'm going to assume that that's tear gas. And yeah, okay, so the caption says, woman on the right was using her walker to advance into the tear gas. And that's just the spirit of Minnesotans. I have known a few in my lifetime, and man, they have a spirit like no other. It is brutal cold up there, y'all. Let me just say, okay, it is brutal. And folks, to have to endure that, that's a pretty big deal in my book. So we're going to continue here. The Tennessee Holler is fantastic for always putting out some very interesting stuff, that's just relevant. So I do want to check this out, because this just kind of tells you what the collaboration is on the ground right now.
So to be clear, you said you got a signed judicial warrant to gain access and were still denied by federal agents?
Yes, that's accurate. The question was, we had a signed warrant and we were still denied access to the scene. That's accurate, correct. We took the step of getting the search warrant because we were denied access to the scene. So we thought that we'd be able to get access to the scene, much like we would anywhere else, by having an independent judge agree that we have probable cause to investigate the incident at the scene. That was provided the information to the Department of Homeland Security, and they said that this was a scene and matter being investigated by the federal government, and they would not allow us physical access to the scene.
So there you have it. That's another part of the puzzle of what would be a cover-up. And so, guys, I do just want to state, right? Because I'm assuming that you think we're gonna watch the full video, but I've come to the conclusion that it is better for us to not watch the video. I just want us to keep the memory of Alex Pretti as the nurse, as the bystander willing to help. And with that being said, we're going to focus on the facts of the shooting. And the facts of the shooting conclude that his gun was taken from him mid-struggle while they had him on the floor. And as it was taken from him, the gun negligent discharge because the agent pulled the trigger as he was walking away in a rush. And I have a few points to help that conclusion make sense. Check this out. So if you didn't see it, we'll run it back one more time. All right, he's got the gun in his hand. Okay, let's check out the shot. Right there. As he turns around and steps. Bam. So we know that's the gun, because that's what they posted afterwards, the SIG, with a really nice optic on it. Obviously, the guy took care of his weapons. He cared about his weapon. And, you know, you don't have something like that unless you're willing to invest and you love your gun. So we know this guy was with it. But with that being said, the reason why I'm led to believe that that was, again, his gun, because this just completely shoots down the fact that he was threatening anybody, that he was grabbing the gun, that it was him that shot, or whatever. It was defensive. That's bullshit. Here's why we know that. So the person who is screaming, "Where's the gun?" is the guy who is searching his pockets and searching his body. That's an agent, okay? And we just want to kind of simmer on the fact that one of the last agents that's on his body is searching for this gun. And searching for it so desperately that he is screaming out. Now, I don't think that there's much to argue about what happened, but I'm really surprised that people are still confused as to the fact that whether you should be shot for witnessing somebody else's kidnapping, somebody else's possible victimhood, should be just discarded because that's what the federal government wants. Big government is telling you what to do and you want to listen because it sounds convenient to you. Is that really what the Republicans are becoming? It would appear so, ladies and gentlemen. But I want to leave us here with a few more angles. And I want to just show you what this whole event is predicated upon. All right. So the guy there in that brown jacket, right on where my cursor is, that is Alex Pretti. And the guy that is holding on to this woman standing in the middle of the road is an ICE agent. So is the guy that's behind this vehicle. They just shoved the woman into that black vehicle. That's what they were initially recording. Now, in the time here, the next 5 seconds, just check this out. So, from the time that we saw that man had his hands on this person here with the brown jacket, Alex gets her, or that person, I don't know if it's a guy, to safety. And the CBP or ICE agent starts pepper spraying absolutely everybody in his path. And he just pushes that person to the ground. So this is how it starts. They pepper sprayed him. They beat his ass. Now, that is not the moment of his death. But check something else out. So right here, this is the moment of his death. So we know that in the ND video, there's an agent where would be almost the area somewhere in the middle of that road behind them, to the right of the executioner. That's where the guy was walking away from, towards the white car. So, what does that tell you? Right? We're going to run this back a little bit because I want to see this happen here. Let's see if we can find him. There goes in right there. Right there he goes in. I think that's him right there with the hat. Nope. That's not him. Okay. This is a tough one. I can't seem to place this guy. Yeah. I can't place him, but it's just crazy, man. Like I can't believe it. Truly, it's a fucked up world we live in, and this is what happens when you elect really dumb motherfuckers. I mean, it's just, we try to warn you, you know. It's just disgusting that we're even having to discuss this now. So, Alex Jeffrey Pretti, born in Illinois, graduate of the University of Minnesota, and he was employed at the U.S. VA. He was a nurse and a dog dad. Had a gun, and they shot him. They killed him for it. 11 shots, all for a negligent discharge that scared some guys, and they executed this man. Just disgustingly, broad daylight, executed. And there isn't much to be said on the subject aside from my hope that everybody involved in this will see their time behind bars. And frankly, they deserve so much worse for what they've brought upon all of us. It's sad that we live in this world, and it's really sad that there are people out there that thought they wanted this or even may still want it. Crazy shit to consider. Truly crazy shit, yo. But with all that being said, I just want you all to remember who Alex Pretti was, and remember that this isn't their first. This is now their third U.S. citizen killed. And it's not going to end until Trump is out of office and until all of these fuckers are behind bars. They have opened a Pandora's box that may never be able to be closed. And the consequences for it will be massive. It's unfortunate to have to say this, but I think this is only the beginning. And I don't say it in, a mopey, sad way, truly. I relish in the thought of all of this changing people and really facing them with their worst fears. Because for years and years upon years, the conservative right was so worried about people who would take their guns and tell them that freedom can only be secured by the state and that safety can only be ensured by federal agents. That was the boogeyman for years, and now it's here. Now it's real. Now it's in your face. You can't deny it. If you voted for this, it's a very real possibility you will one day have to face it. You will one day have to face that ICE agent knocking on your door for a raid to search your house and see if you've got immigrants. Maybe I'm just being dramatic. I don't know, guys. But truly, now it's not such a far impossible thing. It's here. It's happening in Minnesota every day. People leave cars unattended in the middle of the road after being kidnapped. Just dozens and dozens of these cases. And the real consequences of these are the children that are left behind, the spouses that are left unaware, the mothers and fathers that have no idea what's happened to their children. And that is the reality of what Trump is bringing to us: economic ruin and a domestic policy that rivals the Nazi greats, quote unquote. Consider this. If there is a world where there's any possibility of Trump coming to your state, would it make you feel better to just know that one day you saw right? One day you actually understood the consequences to what you thought had no consequences. I'm waxing philosophically here, but anyhow, that's what this is for. That's what you're here for. I guess now would be the time to tell you to follow us and make sure you check out our social medias. Sometimes we post interesting photos or something, I don't know. But for the most part, follow us on the platform you are listening to us on. And thanks for hanging out. thanks for being here, man. If you're caught up in this regional shitstorm, I'm sorry, and I hope that you can weather through this with a lot of cocoa and a lot of food. I hope you have a good one. Take care, y'all.